everyone talks about if you were to go back in time and something like Back to the Future and like kill your grandfather. That's an actual paradox. What would you do to go back in time and invent another time machine?
Oh, yeah.
What would that lead to?
Time travel way before, of course,
So would that
you
do
were
any-
doing it.
My God.
That's a crazy thing to think
It
about.
probably means nothing, but
It
It
means
means
something
everything.
somewhere.
hey guys, look, we got a guest. The VCR is keyed up, the popcorn is a poppin', and until it's ready, come sit with us by the movie light. I am Dr. Crisis.
I'm Mr. Dust.
I am Melmut.
Yes. So today, and that's thank you.
What just
Today,
happened?
that's a long story that you'll never know.
No, good. I didn't want to hear about it.
Yeah, well, so today we'll be talking about special effects in movies, CGI, whatever the hell you call it. We'll be talking about it. We'll talk about, I guess, the history of how we know it. You know, us growing up and what our experience watching the rise of CGI. So,
Sounds good to me.
yeah. So you want to start with what you think would be where is the start? We'll begin at the beginning, as they say. What is that from? What's that from? Let's begin at the beginning.
I
I
don't
think it's in Genesis, isn't it?
the beginning of all things.
That's where the things start, at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that usually
No,
springs.
not. Did you answer you didn't answer my question.
I don't know what you're saying.
Well,
That's the problem. We talked about the Bible. Where are we right now? Huh?
Today we'll be talking about the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was it written by dwarfs?
Why would that have been a thing?
This guy, right? Okay, anyway, back to the actual.
You should,
Well, is there a subject? There
I
was a
thought it
subject,
was at the
yeah.
beginning. It had something to do with the special effects.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
SFX.
What is that?
It said if people are trying to abbreviate it, they put special, it's SFX. You know what I mean? So
That's great news.
it's pretty amazing.
All right.
That's a true fact. At least sometimes that sound means that.
All right, so when I think of CGI, and where it's like, okay, they're really trying to do something here, I always think of a movie we mentioned earlier, RoboCop.
Really?
When I guess it probably isn't considered CGI right now, but like special effects, where you're like, okay, that wasn't real. When Dick Jones fell out the window at the end, I never truly understood what was happening there. It wasn't an actual person, and he was falling away from the screen.
I think that was animation.
It looked like a cross between animation and stop motion.
Yeah.
Which stop motion is animation. Yeah,
Right.
that was.
I think it was like
Weird.
claymation or animation.
Which I guess all the rest of the stuff they were doing 8 to a 9 was all stop motion. So
Right.
I guess that's not
Well,
that's special effects, but it's not CGI.
right. So we'll just go by our experience with it, and our experience with it was, at least when we grew up, what our experience living with movies was, in the grand movie scheme. In the movie existence, in the movie creation, none of you are going to stop me with this. You're just going to let it
No.
keep going.
I was going to yell
okay.
redundant.
I wanted to see where this was going.
I was going to wait till it got to the point where it needed to be screamed at. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can do that anytime.
Redundant. That's the alarm.
Redundant.
No. So my experience was it growing up, and I think your experience, Mr. Dust, was the same.
What?
That we considered the new revolution in special effects to be Terminator 2. That's where it really started. Now, of course, we know now. Well, there were shades of it, right? I shouldn't actually say that because we both also remember that Abyss was really the beginning. The Abyss was really the beginning.
Of you have the interaction of that kind of computer imagery with
Homo sapiens.
actors, because what's his called had been doing
Yes.
strange things in that regard.
And
'cause
homosexuals, but that's a whole other issue.
Wow.
Yeah,
How about
that's
that?
a whole underground thing.
I'm more interested in that now. So, with the Adventures of the Young Sherlock Holmes, whatever that was, where people were saying the stained glass window jumping out and walking, and that was some sort of animation. And
That was computer.
I thought it was computer, but again, I'm not entirely sure. And then they said that the interaction between computer and people, Abyss, was as far as it had gotten at that time.
Right, because even in animated pictures, did you know? I was just recently looking into a fascinating documentary about the rise and fall, or whatever you want to call it, the troubles behind. I'm forgetting the name of the
Who
damn.
Framed Roger Rabbit?
No, the Black Cauldron.
Ah,
The Black Cauldron. And how long it took them making all the troubles behind the scenes and things like that. And they said in that I don't know if this is actual factual according to them, and that's one of the first times that they had used CGI. It was actually in the Black Cauldron.
The Disney movie.
Yeah,
Wow.
Disney cartoon.
I mean, yeah, they were playing around with that in those days when they went through that whole thing, with like Beauty and the Beast, with the chandelier was actually computer, and
Right, but that was
truck
after
and-
Terminator 2 and the Abyss.
This is true. This is true.
Right,
So yeah.
right after, right.
And
Okay.
having it, like Abyss, of course, the scene with it's going through the ship like a snake, and then the door closes and it goes from CGI to real water falling. And it's like
That's
people are
right.
like, wait, what?
Well, even more than that, if you remember on the previews that took everyone by surprise is her touching her own face.
Yeah.
That this thing had shaped her face, and then she touched it. And the way the story I heard about that is James Cameron went to, was it Dennis Muren? I hope it's Dennis Muren. I hope I'm not throwing
I believe I believe you're right with McMurrin. Yeah.
Right. So he asked him if this was possible, if something this complex was possible in live action. And he said, well, okay, I'll put it in a scene that I could cut if it doesn't matter. And Muren came out with that.
Wow.
And we both remember the preview for that was just, everyone was talking about it. And I remember, what was the same thing? We all said, what are we looking at? We didn't understand what we were looking at.
Yeah.
And it actually looked like her, which was so very strange because a lot of those things again, like they tried it with different animations and stuff. RoboCop, that looked absolutely nothing like Dick Jones falling out that window.
What's the actor's name?
Ronnie Cox.
Damn you, man! Good
I
job.
thought it was
Thank you.
Jonesy Rickland. No, but I
That was
have
his
a question.
agent.
No,
he fired
that was
after
his brother.
RoboCop.
Jonesy?
Yeah.
The guy falling out the window was his brother, actually. Ronnie Cox was Dick Jones. The guy they chucked out the window was the guy you were talking about.
Jonesy
Yeah,
Strickland.
he really just looked like that. That wasn't CGI at all.
That's why they chucked him out the window.
That's why-
It's really a very sad story. It's a documentary about the
the horrors. Of
the horrors of RoboCop, the life and death, and the times of what's his name again? See, I don't even remember.
Josie
his name.
Strickland. Yeah.
Josie
Josie
Strickland.
Strickland,
Yeah.
right.
So, poor son of a bitch.
Coming soon, the movie, what do they call him? The biopic about Jonesy Strickland. We'll be making that very soon.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Now, with CGI, does this discussion have to be in interaction with live, actors? Because where does Lawnmower Man fall into this? Because a lot of that wasn't between an actor and except
They
at the
did.
end.
Yeah.
Right?
At the end, and they did things in the movie where it was real people going into it, like the guy he punished at the end of the film, where he was solid, then he would go into
That's
molecules, come
right.
back, and it was actually him, but he kept going apart and coming back together.
That's right.
And of course, that movie was absolutely doomed not to do any to be remembered at all, because for one, they claimed in the first poster Stephen King's Lawnmower Man, which it only shares Stephen King's story in name. When he saw that, he sued them and won. So they're like, oh, these guys are idiots. And then after the fact, it turned out to be one of the favorite films of David Koresh. So everyone's like, no one's watching Lawnmower Man, So
Which is a real shame because it's a fantastic movie.
absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And the best performance by one Jeff Fahey, who I feel is completely useless and worthless in every other film he's ever been in. Amazing in that movie.
Films, yeah. He was fantastic in an episode of Psych.
Really?
Absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Psych is this heavily CGI TV show about Psychopolis, the bane of the existence of it was Jonesy Strickland.
Jonesy Strickland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
robot
I thought it was
city.
about Psyduck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, this is fascinating, but that's interesting. I forgot that was kind of in the air as well when Terminator 2 came out. I would see that. So I would see things like Lawnmower Man and The Abyss as precursors, as build-ups, as almost foreshadowing of what was to come in the CGI explosion. Do you know why they call it CGI versus CG? Some people refuse to say the I. Is there something, or am I a doofus on that? Or
I don't see why you would leave out the eye.
Yeah.
It's
some people say
imagery. I mean, it's
well, they
fine.
say computer graphics.
I think that sounds old. Computer generated imagery.
I think we sound old.
Is that what it is?
I think so. I think we're
whenever
behind
I-
the kids on
Computer
this one.
graphics.
Yeah, because whenever I think of
Yeah.
computer graphics, I think of floppy disks. You know what I mean?
I think we're behind on that one. We could be completely.
Oh,
Very
man,
possible.
we're behind those that are behind. So what are we? We're ahead again.
Yes.
Feel me?
All right. So, but I think most people who grew up in the 90s would say that Terminator 2 was the real beginning of the CGI explosion,
Yeah.
which is what we called it then, so that's what we're going to call it.
Okay.
Do you remember they had whole specials like on Entertainment Tonight,
Oh, absolutely.
even like major news
Yeah.
talking about CGI and how it's changing film.
Yes.
That was a fascinating experience.
And this is 1991. Yes. It really was, and to be the start of something, and for it still to be that good, which I think is beautiful. You look back on. Of course, it's dated now because you can do whatever the fuck you want, but it's still very effective in a lot of it when it came to storytelling, even though it is dated. Which a lot of times you look back and say, this was the start of it all. Wow, this looks like shit. A lot of the time.
Well, not even the start of it all. I mean, we can name movies like, for example, 1998's Godzilla, the American Godzilla. Many of the scenes in that, I mean, we're jumping ahead here, but many of the scenes in that don't hold up at all. Some of them do, but the baby T-Rex or what? Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
baby
you see it.
Zillas,
It's
baby
the
Zillas.
raptor scene is what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheap raptors.
The forever henceforth we will call it the cheap raptor scene.
Yep.
High tech technology. here,
Of
folks.
course,
Yeah,
man.
we're just
You've never
we're
heard
on
those sounds
cutting edge.
Anywhere
edge.
but here.
Right. So 91 was it. 91 was the beginning. I remember everyone again saying that phrase when they saw Terminator 2, going, "What am I looking at?" They really didn't understand what was on screen. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That happened because I was so much younger than you geezers. No,
Yeah, true.
God.
that happened for me. And of course, I was still very young at this time, but
Yeah.
that happened for me with The Mask.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I was like, because you guys showed me a picture in the paper, and you're like, look, Melmut. And I was like,
Yes, that's exactly what.
this is exactly what he said. Look, Melmut.
Behold,
Cast your eyes. Cast thine eyes upon the green man.
And I said, no, yeah, I just couldn't. It was a cartoon.
Very strange
you know.
household. Yeah. Very dramatic.
I just couldn't believe what I was looking. I didn't remember. I didn't understand what I was looking at. I thought it was real, but knew that couldn't be real. You know what I mean? Oh man, I think that holds up really well.
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah, of course
some
not all of it, but
yeah.
it's just there's times now where it's like, I can touch him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's amazing.
And if this makes any sense, its ambition holds up. The idea of the things they were going, let's do this all the way. And you just look at it and say, wow, I can't believe they went that. Like when he flattened himself when he jumped out the window, picked himself up, and then he ballooned himself back out and then went walking down the street. Yeah, we've done much better now. But the fact that we're like, yeah, let's have it complete and wholly cartoon.
Yeah.
And when CGI was like, okay, you have a much better chance of doing that now.
Yeah.
Filmmakers like, oh my God, let's do this. Because I actually don't like that movie very much, The Mask.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's really, I think it's a playground for Jim to be Jim and for any kind of CGI they possibly done to make it a cartoon.
Yeah.
I've seen better cartoons, in my opinion. It's just
Oh,
like,
the style of that movie, the tone and style of that movie was, and I, it's hard to use this word, but it's unique, really.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the idea of, I mean, a lot of the acting, like I didn't think Cameron Diaz was actually very good in that. Everyone's like, and when she was
Yeah.
something, it's like she was gorgeous in that movie.
Yeah.
But then you look at it, you're like, it is a big cartoon, and I admire it. But I remember being very bored when I saw it as a kid, seeing it in the theater. I'm like, this is going to be, and I'm like falling asleep, and which maybe I'm just a foolish man.
No, I understand what you're saying because I was in love with that film and then I was bored by it and then I fell in love with it again. you know?
Right. But part of the problem is that we were like many people that didn't have a lot, growing up. You would watch the same thing over and over and over partly because you loved it,
Yeah.
partly because what else was there to watch?
Yeah.
Yes.
Legend starring Tom Cruise indeed will return. That's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tone of that movie is
So we started at 91.
well. I wanted to say one more thing about
How
the
the
mask.
hell are you doing that? I said I didn't like it. Move on.
Okay, he's getting
I'm
his
getting irate.
Yeah. He's getting his whip out now. I better.
You know what I'm saying? It's not even Saturday. Just top notch, highbrow. That's all you can possibly.
Oh, no, apparently the audience liked his yelling.
Thank you very
at
much.
you.
I want the rest of this to be just noises now. That's all we can possibly go for. There we go.
That's like it's funny. Man, that's
A lot longer
It's a
than I expected.
1970s sports show.
yeah.
All right, Daddy.
all
The
right.
Sixers are.
Malmwood's picks for the Super Bowl champion.
The Sixers are taking over the Capitol again.
Dr. J is the best quarterback out there.
I hope we don't get canceled. I don't see how we could. Nothing but the highest brow.
I
around
don't
here.
see how we could, my brother.
Funky.
Okay, moving
We're
back
lost
to-
down a well right now. I don't even remember where we were.
No, what I was going to say about The Mask is something very interesting about the history of that film, in its pre-production and its original ideas and script, and its original pitch, was very, very dark. The comic book, The Mask, was incredibly violent, and he was and he was more the villain than anything, or I guess an anti-hero, but he was incredibly violent, and they had pitched it as that. That they wanted it to be an incredibly violent, dark, very dark humor. Do you know what I mean? But the reason they originally hired Chuck Russell, the director of the movie, was because he directed one of the what was it, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that's
think I've
what.
ever seen that.
Oh, really? To those listening, that was one of the movies we had spoken of that we had watched far too many times.
Particularly Malmwood,
Yeah.
with a strange obsession of horrifying himself over and over and over again.
But I'm sure everyone there. I mean, everyone has that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that's an interesting thing. That's all.
Yeah.
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 No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
For it to be
Interesting
so.
things.
A thing,
That's an actual fact. I mean, I watched the whole behind the scenes documentary on. That's actual factual, as you would say.
Actually, factual. See, it just changes every time. You can't control these. We actually have a live sound effects band in studio with us, and
That'd be
they're
great.
drunk off their rear ends, and they just, they're not taking cues.
No, they'll do whatever they want.
All right, so I just thought that was a fascinating turn of tone and style in the movie.
Yeah.
That they
And-
wanted it to be. Yeah. So
And of course, would actually, I think, would fly much better today than it did then.
I think that the scuttlebutt is that's what they're going to do.
Interesting.
That they're going to remake it and do the original tone. That it's going to be. I guess it would be more like what is the guy with the sword that talks to us.
Oh, God, don't
What
get me
is it?
started on that one.
Guy with the sword that talks to us.
Deadpool?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, which I actually
haven't
very
seen
much
it.
enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I think Ryan Reynolds is really good, and comic book accurate costumes and designs I find to be very appealing.
Oh yeah, I just never liked that character. You know,
I can understand that.
but
And breaking the fourth wall is like, how genius. It's like it's
Yeah.
just
I
Come on.
don't know enough about Deadpool. It was probably in the comic. Well, no, wasn't She-Hulk the first to start doing that?
breaking the fourth wall.
I think so.
Are you serious?
She used to yell at the reader.
I
The
didn't
one
know that.
time she tried to crawl through the panel.
that's
and
the
somebody had
greatest
to
thing I've
stop.
ever
Yeah,
heard.
I
Much
think
to
She-Hulk
the
was the first.
just
That's not
amazement of the teenage male libido. They wanted her to climb right through there and be in their bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm
Not me.
su-
Not me. Not me.
Oh man.
My pants just made that sound. That's what that was.
So yeah, I'm not sure if that was the intention of the.
I don't care what their intentions were.
Do you think I care what their intentions were? Oh,
Okay, I actually have a question.
yeah,
Was the
we can't answer it. Not today.
Okay.
We can't.
all right? Well, was anything about Mask
We're
influenced?
focusing the fuck on this
by-
movie.
No, was influenced by Dick Tracy.
Oh sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
because think about the way they did lighting in that film.
The
The Mask.
cinematography, yeah.
The cinematography in Mask. It was like they weren't just-
yeah. And the whole tone of the movie. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
just
that's
like
a good
street
question.
lights weren't just street lights. When he was where the character was, it was normal kind of yellow or white street lights. You know, then you look around him, it's like there's orange and purple and green. It's like they're really, you know, and I can't. I just it made me think of Dick Tracy. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good comparison indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Abyss.
Okay. Abyss,
Terminator.
As I
Terminator
said, yeah,
2,
we
right.
went Terminator 2 91, and then we jumped up
to 94.
to 94.
Yeah.
And of course, in between there is 1993.
No. Let's do this proper. Proper beat.
We already jumped to the Mask and talked
No.
about it for
Well,
a
let's
half
try
hour.
and do a little bit of.
What the
linear.
hell happened here? You hearing this?
Let's talk about the Mask. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So 91 was
The Mask.
the was Terminator 2.
Yes.
All right. So that was the CGI burst on the scene. You forget 92 had a big movie too for CGI.
Okay.
You remember what it was?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I keep, for some reason, thinking that Terminator 2 came out in 92. I always do that to myself. Yeah.
91. So you're an idiot.
Ah.
Okay. As long as we establish that, as long as we don't agree on it.
Yeah. The only person here didn't like The Mask. So, yeah, I'm the idiot.
No, Death Becomes Her.
Okay.
I was going to mention that.
Death Becomes Her was 92.
I remember seeing the news thing on that.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is how they did it. This is just as important as anything that's going on anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
The news, people.
Well, it felt well.
No,
it
it's just
felt-
interesting,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It felt that way at the time, just like Mario 3. That's another discussion. But Mario 3 was on the news because the entire world was talking about Super Mario 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's a whole other discussion.
Yes.
So yeah, Death Becomes Her was the big hit in '92. Of course, people weren't tracing it as closely because Batman Returns came out that year, and people were more thinking about that, the opening of that. And it's not that people didn't care about Death Becomes Her, but it wasn't it wasn't a big vehicle like Terminator 2 was.
Yeah.
Right. So then, 1993 happens. Would you tell us what happened in '93?
And it's weird that I want to put. I can't believe the CGI that was going on in Death Becomes Her. It is absolutely strange, and it is.
I haven't seen it. Does it hold up?
It does, in my opinion. And it's weird how some of like performance-wise, movie-wise, you're like, all right, it is just a vehicle for doing these things, but Zemeckis made those things into a movie. Really, I'm just watching this spectacle, and it's enjoyable. But I still don't understand some of the mix of puppetry, the mix of CGI, it just doesn't make any sense. We'll talk about him again, obviously, in this conversation, 94, the way he was able to incorporate it in such a normal way, which, again, he got even better at after Death Becomes Her. But every little thing they did, you almost stop questioning it. It's like, okay, yeah, of course, there's a big hole in that person, and her head's all stretched out. Man, and then by the end, you're like, wow, that was all CGI, and it was insane. It was on the forefront, you know?
Yeah.
But 93, of course, is Jurassic Park. And that still to this day, I'd say 5% of it holds up just as good as it ever should have or could have.
I thought you were going to say 90 years ago. I'm like, uh-oh.
90 years later.
And talk about where were you, when you heard the sound of the, and I want to kick it back over to Dr. Crisis. I didn't see it in the theater.
I was one of the few people, I was the last person in our clan to see it in the theater, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was told, you're told two things. One, your stomach will hurt when the T-Rex yells. And two, there's a special new dinosaur that's in the movie that no one's ever talked about or heard of again. Of course, people knew who the Velociraptor was before that. We didn't. The average person had never heard that name. Or maybe just us ignorant morons didn't. I don't know. And both were true. I mean, your stomach, you had your stomach would hurt. You'd be terrified every time the T-Rex yelled.
Yeah.
And, we could go into, I could really talk for hours about the expert, the craft that went into that movie, specifically, of course, the T-Rex scene. It is one of the great foreshadowing scenes in movie history. And one of the small, because everything is small, I should say that. Building a scene like that, you have to be so focused on every small, almost insignificant, but not, infinitely significant detail to create the entire experience. And one of the things he did is show you where the goat was earlier in the movie. He made it very clear to you the goat is in the Tyrannosaur paddock. It's in that space, right? That's where it's at. Made a whole joke of it. There it is. Don't you like lamb chops? Yakety yakety schmackety schmack. Right.
Yes.
Right. So you know where that thing is. Now it's clocked in the audience's mind where that goat is with the T-Rex, right? Then they go to the control room and him saying that the vehicles had stopped. And he says, turns, where did they stop? What's the very next thing they show? The goat in the rain. Isn't that brilliant?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
They show the goat in the rain. And now you know where they stopped. So this is foreshadowing in movies where you slowly start to put that needle, that knife in the stomach of the audience. You just a little bit, poke,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's just the beginning of that scene. The first thing you see is that goat in the rain. And then they pull back. Spielberg pulls back to the two cars stuck right there in front of the T-Rex cage. And he slowly unfolds that entire scene. So, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. That's how you make a movie. That's really how you make a movie. That's how you keep an audience invested, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, everyone you talk to, as far as that movie is concerned, they'll be walking through and they'll be getting ready for something. If it's on, they'll stop and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're flipping through channels. If it's on, you tune in and see where it's at, what part, what's going on. It's classic. It's a deserving classic.
Yeah. And of course, the representation of the power and more foreshadowing of what's about to come, again, the building of the foreshadowing, where the classic ripple in the water.
Yes.
Right, the ripple in the water. It tells you something very bad is coming. This is foreshadowing, right?
Yes. And then for him to end that whole sequence of him breaking out, the kids being stuck in the car, of course, eventually the car being thrown off, and Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum being thrown, one of the lawyers being eaten. The very end of that scene before they go away is the T-Rex yelling into the camera. It's like, now I'm on the scene. It's all gone very wrong because of me.
He is on
and
the scene.
It's only the beginning. Yeah.
Like a sex machine. There's all you got to say about that. But yeah, absolutely. Right. It is. What a way to begin something, right? Because
Yes.
that's the beginning of what you're about to experience.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, tremendous. Other notable movies that came out that year? We'll wait for we'll do an episode on 93 before we talk about it. Okay, so that was 93. So this is, we've mentioned 91, 92, 93. We're building up. This is the way 90s went when you were like, okay, then especially after Jurassic Park, it became, okay, what are they going to do now?
Yeah.
That really became what it was.
Yes.
You were now waiting to see what Hollywood was going to do with special effects. So, 1994.
Which it's weird that the very next year, a movie that was as heavy with special effects as it was, and kept as a storytelling tool, won Best Picture. CGI had that quickly become legitimate to Hollywood, to audiences, to critics. Forrest Gump won Best Picture in 1994, and most of the shots in that movie had some form of CGI in it.
Yeah.
But so hidden. His legs, Lieutenant Dan losing his legs, none of that was real. All the explosions, all of the gunfire, all of the mayhem in Vietnam, none of it was actually happening. Them out on a boat on the river, on the ocean, none of it, river, ocean, whatever, none of it was there.
Audiences,
It's
large groups of people.
it's just crazy.
And of course, one of the most controversial issue, which then started to make its way on Tales from the Crypt and on commercials, which is
Yes.
they were using people long dead in movies.
Yeah.
That became a controversial issue at the time. That they didn't think that was respectful to those figures.
And of course, Forrest Gump met many presidents that had already passed away
Right.
or weren't as young anymore or whatever. And then it became as back as a sting for a little bit.
Yeah, remember he directed that episode of Tales from the Crypt
Yeah.
where he had Humphrey Bogart in it, but it was all from his point of view, and you only see him in mirrors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, that people were kind of there was a growing kind of discomfort with the idea. Older people thought that this was disrespectful, and I'm sure a lot of actors in Hollywood were rather concerned they were going to be replaced by CGI rather soon.
And he had Fred Astaire dancing with a vacuum.
That's
Yeah,
right.
people were like,
That
"All right, now
was
they're selling
disrespectful.
it."
That
Yeah.
was disrespectful.
I agree. I agree. I remember a very good joke that Jim Carrey made about that was saying that in the future, long after he's dead, he'll be selling. I forget what he said he was selling, but he started talking with his butt about how he'll be selling things after he's dead as Ace Ventura, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, so we've already talked about, what was that movie we talked about earlier? The Mask. Oh, Jim Carrey. See,
Oh,
you took us
yeah,
back
look
to
at
it.
that,
You did
see?
it. It was your fault.
Jim Carrey is here.
He's carried
He
the
has
day.
a gun in my back, right to the back. He's a lost cause. Did you know about that?
Okay, let's further alienate people.
Please, please. I'm tired of acting like we're going to be listened to.
So I don't think there's anything major. We're probably going to get a lot of people angry at us, but I can't think of anything else major in '94.
I just hope it's not some weirdo's favorite
Oh,
movie that
what
no
am I
one
talking
knows.
about?
What
Of
about
course.
Whistlebeak? It had like a whole, fleet that was special effects. I mean, shut up. Shut your mouth. I'm just
There's
joking.
nothing wrong
Whistlebeak
with-
is
no, there's-
marvelous. I love that movie.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having a detailed knowledge or what's
Oh, no.
obscure knowledge of things. Just don't be an asshole about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all. Don't be an asshole about anything. Is basically that's the lesson of the day, kids. Don't be an asshole about anything.
And if you're letting your kids listen to this, shame on you. Nothing but the highest brow here.
You can't even reach that. Bro.
We haven't reached it yet. That's for damn sure.
You're damn right.
At least we have acceptance.
Anyway, no, because I can remember all three movies that were nominated that year for best
A special effect.
special effects. It was Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
The Mask, and True Lies.
We had a conversation in our personal life. We live outside of this about how
Don't
that
lie.
does not hold up, in your opinion. I haven't seen it in a long time. I know you said you hadn't either, but you said last time you saw it, the things in True Lies did not hold up as being impressive.
Let's get this really straight. That was in confidence.
Look, man,
You told me you were a priest.
I am a priest. This is all about being honest to God. James Cameron and Schwarzenegger not good enough for you? You piece of crap. And that's how I feel about it.
And that's Mr. Dust's take.
On Father Brando.
On Father Marlon Brando, I don't know. That's not going to, court. The people are gonna be like, what?
So, Father Brando,
I put you up on them columns, and you were like, oh, I don't deserve you. And then next day, you're like, no, you can't have a cheese sandwich. My God, baby, get it together.
what
was
did,
my
what did
favorite
you
scene.
think of? What did you think of The Mask? What did you think of The Mask? I know Mr. Dust didn't like it very much, but
Well, I thought it was dead on. me and Rita Moreno did that kind of green shit with the tongue out every goddamn Tuesday. It was fucking accurate.
Was it fire? Would you say?
What? I'm not on. Don't speak lingo to me, you chimp.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What are you, simpleton?
Sorry.
I'm tired of not being dead. I'm going back.
So,
Unrecognizable as anyone that ever lived
so
is that
apparently,
impression.
apparently Marlon Brando is such a good actor that he acted his way back into living.
Amazing. And that's why he
Wow.
sounded so damned ridiculous. Because he was dead.
So yeah, True Lies.
Yes.
True Lies was, if you remember, at the time, again, trying to capture this, you had to have been there to a certain extent. It's very hard to explain how exciting it was when you were waiting every year, every summer, most of the time, but every year you're like, I can't wait to see what they have next. And there's rumors what they were doing, and one of the, of course, I'm sorry, because that leads into another rumor. I mean, another movie we're going to talk about. The rumor that Stargate came out in '94, right? And then after it came out and it was so popular, there was a rumor that the makers of Stargate were going to be making another movie, and this would be have even more special effects. That was all. That was all that was said. Do you remember?
No.
Oh, yes. They were like, did you hear? There's a rumor that these guys are making another Alien movie.
Oh, and of course we know who these two people are.
Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin.
Yes.
Yes. But at the time, that's all. No one knew who they were by
I
that
forgot
name.
all about that.
Yeah, it was just like, they just said, I remember it was our sister Wakamitz.
Wakamitz.
Yeah, remember her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you really? I don't.
Me neither.
Okay. Yeah, she was like, did you hear? Did you hear that the guys have been Stargate? There's a rumor that they're making another Alien movie, but this is going to be more big budget, more special effects. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, foreshadowing.
Yes.
All mauled about it. So, yeah, True Lies at the time was shocking. Of course, the scene where he jumps off the, what did he jump off of? A building. He
Yes.
jumped off a building onto the, what was the name of that jet?
What is it? A Harrier jet?
The Harrier jet. Oh, that was the shiz, man.
Everyone was like, "Oh my God, someone
That
actually
was
jumped
the
on the jet."
Jimmy
Yeah.
John. Not only that, the Harrier jet itself was almost a character. In a
Yes.
classic action movie tradition, they would take some inanimate object and turn it into this badass character. You know, again, we talked about what is that? A rotary can? What is that? The minigun.
The minigun. Yeah.
In
In
Predator.
Predator.
Yeah.
Old Painless, as it was called in the movie.
Right.
Of course, I think the big rig in for a short period of time in T2 when he was chasing him, you know, and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the way he flipped that gun almost was like,
Yeah,
way he was
the most
really-
impressive thing I've
yeah,
ever
little
seen in
things
my
like
entire
that.
life. Yeah,
yeah,
at the time, yeah.
little things like that were. So yeah, the Harrier jet and that became something everyone was talking about for all that summer. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's so neat to see how long the effect movies have had on people. How long that's been around. You know, it's really fascinating, and the different generations talking about their, you should have been there when this happened, and this, you know, not even stuff that never been, also including stuff had never been done before, but just powerful things, you know, storytelling and this character, everybody wanted to be him, or, you know, it's like, wow, they really are timeless, you know, something special we've tapped into, you know, with movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then that happened.
Question.
Yeah.
Was that the very next film Cameron did after T2?
It was.
Oh, look at that.
And then, of course, the next film we did after that was Titanic.
Yes.
Or leading to that, because in '95, there was no major breakout movie, I would think, as far as visual effects was concerned. But some of the ones that come up that were more subtle were Braveheart, where they had multiplied the amount of armies there were, the amount of people in an army for special effects. This is when people were saying, well, what can we do with special effects, especially after Forrest Gump, where you don't know we're doing it, that you just don't know what you're looking at. We're using it for practical reasons. And of course, in Dire with a Vengeance, where
Yes.
they threw, oh, fuck me, we forgot Fugitive in
Oh my
'93.
God!
Oh, man.
Harrison Ford actually jumping off of
Of a bus
a
about
bus
to be hit
getting
by
hit
a
by a
train,
train,
which
right?
still looks impeccable.
it's really immaculate. You can't
Absolutely amazing.
But they did the same thing with Bruce Willis in Die with a Vengeance, where he falls in front of a taxi cab that's about to squish his head, and
It stops just short.
Right.
Not there. Yeah.
The only overt movie I can think of currently that came out where the special effects were so beautiful and overt, I guess it is important because of what it led to. Because you could argue that this movie led to the concepts we still use in comic book movies today. The visuals,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Batman Forever,
Absolutely.
yes. So John Dykstra himself went on to do Spider-Man, the same man that did Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, went on to revolutionize yet again the way we saw vision. Well, not us; we always saw it,
Yeah.
but you normal people out there. Yeah.
But yeah, and everyone, I just want to take a quick shout out to the man who had passed away and never got enough credit for his directorial skill. One Joel Schumacher, who got the shit end of all the sticks when he really did not deserve it.
True. Word is what I've got to say about that. One big word on that one.
Damn right.
I love me some Schumacher. People needed to calm down and realize he was remaking the old show. I know a lot of people are starting to come around to that. And you don't have to like it. That's not what we're talking
Yeah.
about. You don't have to like that. But you can't call it bad because he achieved the goal, which was to make something silly.
Yes. It's not a bumble to say I'm going to go deliberately campy and make Adam West live again. It's not the same thing as making a mistake. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, if I do a comedy act and I'm funny, you can't say it was a bad comedy act because you laughed at it, because you thought it was going to be a dramatic performance, right?
Yeah.
You can't. So it was his goal to make something silly and fun and wonderful to look at, which to this damn day, especially Batman and Robin, is absolutely gorgeous to look at.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
this is coming, at least for me, this is coming from someone who really can't get through watching it anymore. That I still give Schumacher credit for what he was doing on purpose.
Well, we'll get further into that because I'm gonna do a whole thing on that. I'm gonna do. I think we should do a whole. We are going to do that. We'll get back to you on that one. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Anyway, 96 is a big year for special effects. 1996, this is what we were talking about earlier. The two men that made Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich
Who made them?
Huh?
Two men that made Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich. Who were they?
I think Siegfried and Roy.
Oh wow, they had children's. Go ahead.
Yeah.
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 With the Tigers, I think.
Oh wow.
Can you believe that?
A lot. The police should have been involved a whole lot more in their comings and goings.
Yeah, Frankenstein's. He's got some incredible comments today.
He's beside himself with rage on this one.
1996 was a huge. It might be argued that that was the pivotal CGI year of the decade, right?
Really?
I don't see how you couldn't arrive at that conclusion. Really. Yeah.
Right. It is. It's when it hit its absolute peak and excitement. Like it really felt like you were in the middle of a revolution of entertainment of some kind. So of course, Twister was the first big one to open that summer,
Yes.
and seeing actual tornadoes tear the shit out of things. And again, when we're talking about foreshadowing and turning, we've already talked about this, but wonderful, wonderful, skillfully made movie. As far as that's concerned, making the tornadoes living, malicious creatures that were out to get you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard to do.
That is not easy to do.
No.
Because it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of skill. Then, of course, what opened next?
Would it be Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible opened. And, of course, we've already talked about this. Tom Cruise.
Was actually flying off of an exploding helicopter onto a speed train, and it was his face, and everyone was like, "How in the name of the Lord was that done?"
Was that done? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a shocking moment. And then the capper.
I'd like to mention one before the capper, although
Absolutely.
it may have come out after or before, but I believe in that same year, Multiplicity,
Oh, yes.
where there was many Michael Keatons, which you never have too many Michael Keatons.
Can't have
I think Malmwood is
Nope.
definitely on
God
that tip.
bless
Yeah.
his heart.
Although, if you know what's really fascinating? I went back and looked at a 80s stand-up of his.
It's terrible.
It's odd. Is what
I've never seen him so nervous.
it's not just that. It's. I would almost say if it's not, it wasn't so obvious that he wasn't doing this on purpose, you would think it was part of the act, but it was stereotypical '80s comedian.
Yes.
It was like,
Yes.
hey, did you ever notice? Do you know what I mean?
He
Like
would
that.
actually start in like that. It was very weird to see him do that. I just watched
Yeah.
this recently.
Yeah.
Myself, and it really was. You're like, wow, you're like the template for this kind of behavior. Yeah.
No, we love Mr. Keaton.
Love
here,
Michael Keaton.
but
He said in interviews recently that wasn't his thing, stand up.
You could tell.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's fascinating.
But yeah, to have that many Michael Keatons, again, performance aside, because he was brilliant as each character, but they were interacting with each other in a way they never had, watching one's face and their chest bumping, and they ridiculous for that
Right.
time. Yeah.
That was the only time in the history of multiplying people on screen where you forgot. Up until that point, of course,
Yes.
they've done it since then. But at that time, it was the only time you actually forgot it was multiple people.
Yeah.
That it wasn't multiple people.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a fucking.
It's
idiot.
everything's fine.
Yeah.
Ray,
Nah, I got it wrong.
we gotta
yeah.
do the show, Ray.
Yeah.
What's the point? What's the fucking point? We're doing a podcast, Ray.
No. Yeah.
All right, fine.
How dare you?
Harrison, it has nothing to do with you. I fought for this country. I'm a vet. Wait, that's the wrong movie. That's wrong.
Definitely get back to the movie.
We'll do movies now.
Yeah.
I love that. I love you, Ray.
I hate you.
Definitely hate you.
Definitely hate
The
you.
alternate and much more satisfying ending of the film. He just trashes Charlie, just dresses him down. You know.
Little did they know.
Locks the door, rolls up his sleeves. Yeah. Gonna give you an ass whooping. Yeah.
Yeah, because Vern was teaching him some friggin' Tai Chi, something. Vern was a wise
Teaching
man.
Tang Sudo. What you talking
man.
about?
Yeah, he had shit going down. When he friggin' said to Charlie, remember? Maybe I put it back. Put the book. Whew. You know what I mean? Because you're about to take a whooping, boy. It's like,
Maybe you better put it right the fuck back.
yeah, man, friggin' Vern. I fucking love that guy.
Main man
Ray.
Ray. No, I'm just
VERN. Yeah. PAIN. Yeah.
That's a damn right, Ray. Step aside now.
Gonna bring the pain. Yeah.
gonna drop the pain.
Here
on
comes the
top.
pain. I'm sorry, it's had the good old Al Pacino.
We were talking about something at some point.
Where did we go? Where?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was at all.
1997.
6. We didn't get to the main part.
They know what it is.
No, we have to say it.
All
I
right.
don't remember.
It was Independence Day.
Independence Day,
yeah.
that the two men were making the biggest scale alien invasion. And by biggest scale, I mean large, the biggest ships that have ever been put on screen to invade this planet. It was always like little saucers and things like that and cool shit. They were scary. But,
Yeah, good stuff.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
not to that level. Not even close.
but the fear, the genuine, real fear to see the first trailer of that in the theater or watching something else, I felt like I was going to pee my pants.
Yeah.
Seeing it come over the
We held
the
hands.
Brooklyn Bridge.
We
Yes,
held hands.
me and Dr. Crisis held hands out of fear of seeing it come out of the cloud over New York City.
And other teenagers laughed at us. We didn't care.
Absolutely
That
not.
actually happened. What did we were seeing Mission Impossible.
Yes, we were.
That's right.
To see that was another amazing thing.
What?
You had to wait to go to the theater to see these things. So we're seeing the upcoming things that are coming out in that year with the great. It's like, oh my God, Twister was huge, and Mission. What? And then we're going, and you're seeing trailers.
I'd like to do a shout out to Rigor Mortis man right now because he's the one that paid for us to go see Mission Impossible and Twister on the same night. That's thank you.
Beautiful man.
That's
And I'd just like to put it out there. Joe is
oh
rigor mortis, man.
you can't
You gotta do it.
no. You just you gave up his
All right, just
he
point
gave
that
up
out
his
then. It'd
secret
be like
identity.
beep
You're gonna get
is
him
rigor
killed
mortis.
by the villains.
That's-
Is that what you want?
He already has rigor mortis. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand that point.
This guy. Anyway, what the hell are we talking about now?
Independence Day was where we thought.
Right. So, is there? I mean, I can't think of any other major special effects movies that came out that year. I can think of other movies, but I would like to wait until
Yeah.
we have a whole until we do 96 before we talk about those. I can't remember any major special. Oh, what am I talking about? Dragonheart, which again you
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
now you claim it doesn't hold up at all anymore.
No, I think he looks terrible. Yeah,
I gotta
he looks
see
like
it
a
again.
video game, like an old video game to me. Yeah,
I remember
which is
just
weird.
just to talk about it at the time. I was a little older, and I can remember that better. It's like, did you see it? I remember every time the trailer would like a TV spot or something, like, oh, I am the last one. It's like, oh, look at that. I can't. And then when we got it, we were watching it. It's like, there's a dragon. There's a talking dragon. Look at there he is.
Yeah.
It was so exciting.
Yeah, which was interesting. That was the next step from Jurassic Park, actually giving them a personality and a voice. So it was amazing at the time. Again, for me, it is very dated. Seeing it again.
I am the last one.
And another one that I believe came out that year. Tell me if I'm wrong. Another Arnold Schwarzenegger one that was surprised. It was Eraser.
Did that have? Oh,
Remember when the airplane? He has to abandon the airplane.
Yes.
And you see him hanging onto the side of it, actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then let go, and then
go
fly through the air.
The fire
the
on
fire
the side
and the
of
smoke.
it.
Yeah, so everyone.
Yes.
And of course, alligators attacking him that weren't real at all, and he's shooting at them, and
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it was on the lower end of this stuff, but it's still
Yeah.
some big CGI moments.
That was also Chuck Russell.
Oh yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, the man that did the legendary Mask.
Yes. So, what do we got? 97. Is that the next in order? Is that how time works?
I think if you're thinking linear, like a simp, if you're being a simp and thinking of time is linear, then okay.
You made a
whatever.
time machine. I'm sorry. What?
Who said?
Okay,
something?
1997. 1997. We had the sequel to Jurassic Park, and of course, they did indeed push the special effects forward. The Raptors were interacting even more than they were in the other ones. I wouldn't say the movie was as good, but
No.
the visual it wasn't as bad as some of the following. But
I fully agree with that.
It was still had some incredible visuals in it. The two T-Rexes this time, I thought was an incredible scene. Really heart pounding.
Of course, the man on the motorcycle riding underneath the brontosaurus.
That was shocking at the time.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, it was absolutely startling.
Triceratops actually up and about doing things. It was really cool to see.
Yes. Other movies that came out that year was Batman and Robin, which we've already touched on.
Yes.
The visual effects in that was spectacular. And I
And
can't
revolutionary to, as you said, the
again.
superhero
They
genre.
kept pushing. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that came out that year major.
Not as far on the CGI front. I wonder if we're missing something.
No. So then we move on to 98, which was Gojira, right?
Which looks disastrous again. Most of
Right.
it,
Yeah.
as far as today is
And of
concerned.
course, most people hated the Jesus out of that movie. I mean, it just
And
was
just an interesting fact that
Yeah.
Japanese people call that Godzilla Gino. It's an acronym that means Godzilla in name only.
I love it.
Yes.
Now, you know me. Or do you?
Oh,
I see good in most movies.
Yes.
Very few times I just tear the shit out of something. We will get to that, but it's very rare. And I thought that there was a lot of enjoyable moments. I actually liked the rainy, dark tone of the movie. And I like this, I like the scale of it. I like the feeling of being trapped in a city with chaos the chaos reigning everywhere and not knowing what was going on. Yeah, was that Godzilla as a character nonsensical and ridiculous? Yes. Yeah.
yeah, and I do. It's weird when I had to look through that kind of stuff because I admire that about you, that you are able to see things, because everything else I'm so annoyed by the actors, so annoyed by the story that I didn't want to see, where a bunch of people being ignorant, and it's like I don't care about any of this, and then Godzilla does nothing, has babies, and dies, but the scene I take away, like you said, the trap thing I really liked, when they're chasing him through the streets, the helicopters, and he's taking them out one by one. It really just seemed like it was just a huge maze for him. That was very well done, and of course him chasing them and jumping over the Brooklyn Bridge barriers as he was that side view. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see, of course. We went to see it in the movies and
Boredom Town.
Yeah. Hey, let's all go down to Boredom Town. Do you mean Godzilla? You know it. Okay. We should we should go on the road with that.
We should. And we are. Now we're in.
It's showtime. Oh,
Ah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, God, no, don't do that.
No, don't go in there.
For those of you who know what I'm referring to, we will send you a pack of golden beans if you can find us. Okay, so 98. So now we're getting to.
But don't hold your breath.
He won. He did it. We'll give him the pack of golden beans. That's how we get away with not giving anyone prizes. And now we come to the end of the decade.
Wait.
What is that?
98, we did not mention Men in Black.
That was 97 is why we didn't.
Thank you. I knew there was some reason.
You're right. We didn't mention it.
97, I always completely forget.
Again, absolutely. Yeah, all of these were all in the. Every year it was like candy store, man. It was like, what are they going to do next? This is really an exciting time for movies.
Yeah.
Entertainment. What are they going to do next? What are we going to be able to see? What new images are they going to bring out? You know, and I'm sure we've missed a lot.
These are the ones that stuck out.
Because
to us
97 also
personally.
was the re-release of Star Wars, and he had.
Of course, he had added, which of course is still controversial to this day, whether he should have or whatever. But
I
he
think he
added
should've.
his new. I think they're actually. I think
they're
that
perfect.
Empire Strikes Back is perfection.
Yeah, you had to do something with Cloud City. It couldn't just be a big giant
absolutely.
hangar. You couldn't do that.
Absolutely.
You know, and he knew that. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it was very justified move to make.
And so now that we are here on George Lucas, we move on to 1999.
I did want to say, because
1999.
we got into a lot of the other things, with Tony Shalhoub's head being blown off and then growing back was absolutely, even all the things we'd seen up to that point, was ridiculously unbelievable in my brain when watching it. That you showed it grow all the way back and it came right to him saying lines. I'm like, I can't believe still what they're doing. It was still so fresh that you were just, and Will Smith fighting a octopus monster in the background while they're talking in the foreground. Just ridiculous shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
99.
absolutely. Yeah, the way they interacted with it
Yes.
just kept stepping up how much people could interact
Yes,
with
exactly.
with CGI. 1999, the end of the decade, was also possibly the vision of the absolute future and what we were going to be looking at in Phantom Menace.
Yes.
And that, of course, was national news. They stopped regular programming to air the preview, the first trailer for Phantom Menace.
And in my ridiculous excitement, I went to call a loved one that asked if they had seen it, and it was a landline phone. For everyone who knows what that is, I picked up the receiver to call, and I picked it up so vigorously I hit myself in the head with it and left a bump. The excitement was ridiculous.
Yeah, the amount of injuries that happened that night because of, because of morons trying to call their family member. No. Is it true that Meet Joe Black made more money simply because it was the first movie to have?
From everything I've heard, yes, that is true. People heard that it was going to be in the beginning of the movie, that trailer, and they were buying tickets just to see the trailer on the big screen and then leaving. Ticket sales went up for Meet Joe Black because of the trailer in the beginning.
Brilliant.
For Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of, I mean, we can leave it there as far as that's kind of the pinnacle of it really is amazing when you think about that was the last movie to come out in the decade, and it had pushed visual effects further than any movie previous to it in the history of film. It was the first movie with a fully realized, only special CGI character. Jar Jar Binks was the first in history. All he was CGI. It was the first time ever.
He's one of the stars of the film.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we'll end it there. We'll come back another time and talk about where.
You don't want to mention anything else from 99 as far as special effects?
Oh, you mean The Matrix?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Again, the way they built the trailer, you can't understand what it is unless you see it for yourself. That whole thing.
No one can understand what
They-
The Matrix is. They just have to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
Something
So,
like that. Yeah.
yes. As I said, I mean, I'm not
No,
saying.
no, I'm sorry. We fucked it up because we're idiots. No one can be told. No one can be told what The Matrix is. They just have to see it for themselves.
Yeah, wasn't it
That's what-
unfortunately? Unfortunately, no one can be told what
Unfortunately,
the Matrix is.
we don't know what we're talking about.
we'll get it right in the next several episodes. We'll come back and get the actual quote. As I said, I don't think it's a bigger jump, of course, in CGI. Just the style of the film, I think, goes up there with Phantom Menace, where it's like, okay, I haven't seen anything like this. The aesthetic of the film, the way they were using CGI to warp your perception of reality, which of course was the idea behind the whole film, and to take you to a place where, like, okay, we're simultaneously in this world and then we're not in it at all, and then they mix together. So yeah, the CGI in that for telling us a great story, I thought was just unseen before. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to get into a whole other episode. I'd like to get into a whole other episode talking about the trilogy, because I'd like to say some things about it and defend second and third one.
Yes.
So, okay. I mean, I guess we'll come back for another episode and do, because it didn't end there, of course. We go into the 2000s and things start to ramp up from there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that was good to cover. I guess this episode was just covering the 90s revolution.
Yeah.
And so to end the episode, we have to recast something. What would you like to recast in relation to what we were talking about?
Got to go with How Green Is My Valley. No,
Dibando, The Revenge.
It's not a sequel; it's a remake.
Oh, Dibando, the remake. No.
Yeah. What are we recasting?
What do you want to recast?
Would it have something to do with what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if it's somehow related to one of the
Because it's
things we're
weird
talking
how many these movies where it's like you don't recast the CGI.
about. Recast the tornado. Okay, which special effects in what movie would we replace the tornado, and which other special effects would you replace?
T-Rexes just all
Yeah.
over.
T-Rexes?
Yeah, they're chasing
Yeah.
them across the Midwest, and it's a level 5, T-Rex, and
Yeah,
it's
they
just
did
big as a
different sizes,
skyscraper.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
That'd
or
be
we could do
horrifying.
we could do our Godzilla in a tornado. Remember Godzilla getting caught in a tornado?
Yeah.
He eventually just falls asleep and we start feeding criminals to him.
Forgot all about that.
We just isolate it. I think that was our idea for the sequel to Twister. Like it was like a crossover or something.
Yeah. Something.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We will, in the immortal words of LeVar Burton. Wait, can I say that, or will I get sued for it? I hope LeVar, please don't sue us.
We love you.
Yeah.
Well-
You don't have to take our word for it.
Let's see you next time. So wait. So what were we talking about before? Oh, the dumbest movie of all time.
Rhythm Section. It was another movie where I was like down on my luck and I got trained by a dude.